I'm making another trek over to our mountain place. And I thought I would try to tell my story. It's not easy. I've thought about it so many times, but who really wants to talk about themselves? And I know that I should, because there are lots of good lessons in my mistakes. And I've been around a while and made a lot of them. So, what? When I thought about talking about it, I thought about talking first about my mom. Because my mom was 13 when she got pregnant with me. And you'd have to understand that situation, or you might just kind of get a typical paradigm of a bad girl that got pregnant. And that's not it at all. We come to so many conclusions based on our past experience, which really is so unfair to everybody, particularly ourselves. So my mom was my grandma. Let's start there. My grandma was Hazel Ball. She was the second of, I think, 9 children born to a West Virginia railroad conductor and his wife. And during that time, she was born in 1910, they were upper class, at least middle upper class. And you could tell they had a very nice home, especially with all those children, and were dressed very nicely. And it's really interesting because all my life I knew that my mom had class. I didn't know where it came from. She just had it. She knew how to act. She knew what to say. She knew how to fit in with anybody. It was really quite something. When you look at the big picture, it was kind of not what you'd expect. And so that's where it came from. My grandma got married when she was 17 to the star football player at their school, Hank Nicely. And he was an alcoholic. And you know how West Virginia was back in 1930, 20s, 30s. And at any rate, they got married and my grandma got pregnant and had a baby, and it died at age 2. And you'd have to understand my grandma to understand how devastating, not that it wouldn't be devastating to anyone, but my grandma just loved family and children and believed that our family was everything. And so it took her years, I think 4 years, before she got pregnant with my mom. And my grandpa, Nicely, and grandma, and my grandma's sister, actually 2 sisters and their husbands, ended up moving from Princeton, West Virginia, to Washington, D.C., Northeast. And my mom's address was, I think, 1723. Oh gosh, it's the same street that she lived on a little while ago. I should know it. Anyway, I looked it up, and it's the house. So my mom grew up. My grandma had to do whatever she could when they got here. They just needed to make money. My grandpa, on the when they go around census, put on the first year that he was a sportsman. And he made pretty darn good money. And I know that he was running numbers because we took regular trips to the bar where they lived called TikTok. And we would get ice cream and sit outside while he did his business. But then he was also a steam fitter and worked on iron some. He was very strong and had huge hands. And my grandma worked at the egg factory, and she made pies and sold them. She was a wonderful cook and did whatever she had to. She was excellent with money and one of the hardest workers and most dependable people I've ever met. And so Grandma worked at Heck Company eventually and ended up retiring there. And my grandpa ended up dying in 1958 after a long, hard relationship because he stayed drunk. And my mom doesn't tell a lot of stories, but he fought with everybody, and my dad said that the first time he met him, my grandpa beat him up. And I remember him probably more than any of the other kids, more than anyone else, and I have great memories of him being a big, strong man with big hands, and he would throw me in the air. And I can remember my grandma saying, "Leyburn, you're going to hurt her. Stop that. Leyburn, put her down." And Grandpa would take me out on the back steps and talk to me about crickets and things while Grandma cooked dinner. And, I was the first grandchild. So I got some of the best times of family, I think. So my grandma stayed busy. You know how that goes. I know how that goes when you're married to an alcoholic and trying to take care of everybody and work. And my mom was a beautiful girl, and my grandma did everything for her. She had her in all kinds of special dancing schools and stuff like that, but my mom was really lonely. She lived by herself all the time, and she was alone all the time, and all the pictures we have of her as a child are alone. And so my grandma just gave her money, and like if she needed school shoes or something, my grandma would leave her the money and she'd go ride the streetcar and get what she needed. So one day she wanted a horse. My grandma got her a horse, and she had to walk or take the streetcar to Lanham to take care of it. And one time she did, and my dad was working there. And he was 17, and he went crazy over her. And there's a couple different stories, but at any rate, she was 13, he was 17, and he gave her a lot of attention, and she got pregnant. And I'm sure she doesn't even have any idea how it happened. Yeah. But she was happy about it, I believe, and she continued to have 8 more children. The last one didn't live, but 7 more kids in a row. And so that's been interesting. And that's probably a good beginning to this story.